Hello and welcome to My Cramped Kitchen. Yes, I am back and cooking in my kitchen, and today we'll be creating carne con chili, meat with chilies. Usually it's called chili con carne, but that's the wrong way around. That implies something else. Anyway, I think the proper phrase for it is carne con chili, and that is why we have a load of beef mince and just sort of beef strips as well. Mix up the texture a little bit, and we've got a couple of chili peppers, spring onions, garlic, vegetable seasoning, the works. And what we're going to do is put it together in a slow cooker and leave it to cook away and see what happens. Really, it's a recipe I know fairly well, and we'll see how it goes. So let's start prepping some ingredients, and I think the first thing we're going to start with is the beef strips over here. So what we have here are our beef strips at the front and our beef mince at the back. It's about 15% beef mince, so there's a nice amount of fat in there to keep it nice and soft, moist, sort of really juicy. And then the strips in front just sort of give a different bit of texture to it, and equally you can season the two things rather differently, and it makes for quite a fun dish. You get loads of different flavours for every mouthful and every different sort of piece, really. So it mixes it up quite nicely, adds a bit of variety. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add these to a pan with some hot oil, and we're going to season them off with some chili powder, some chili flakes, ground pepper, just to sort of give them one flavour. Then we'll do the same with the mince, just to give it another flavour and sear it off quickly before putting them in the slow cooker. So we'll start with our beef. So we have our beef strips in a saucepan with a little bit of hot oil. We're going to cook those down, and first we need to add some herbs and spices. We're going to start with some really nice crushed chilies. Try and get those on camera. Don't know if you can see those with the reflection on the glass. They are just crushed chilies. These will add a really nice fresh punch of heat to the dish. On top of that, to bring out another rather nice warm and slightly smoky flavour, we've got cayenne pepper. Always a good addition to sort of any dish you want to put a bit of heat into, really quite potent. So while you can hear in the background our beef strips starting to sizzle away, what we will do is we will start to prepare some of our vegetables, and we'll start with a red pepper. Really easy vegetable to prepare these, and what we're going to do is we're going to simply start by taking the top off. There we go. That's actually left us with quite a nice ring of pepper just there, so what we can do is we can actually keep that in the stalk, and we'll then take out the centre. And then what we will do is we'll just simply put this into quarters, and then what we're going to do is just going to quite simply make some thin slices out of this. Don't have to be sort of regular, just nice slices. There we go. We'll work through half of this and we'll chuck it in with the beef strips that are currently in the pan. So we'll take the first load of our pepper and we'll put this in the pan. And a brilliant way to add a bit more extra fresh flavour to those beef strips is going to be by putting in a nice fresh chilli. This one's just a sort of medium heat green one. I don't know what this one actually is, I didn't say when I bought it. So, with these, top tip, don't include the seeds because they contain a huge amount of the heat. If you want to keep it nice and mild, make sure you cut them out. So simply halve it down the middle, score to remove the pith, and then it should just all peel out quite easily, he says. Use a knife just to clear it out. And we'll repeat that with the second half. And then we'll just finally slice that. And we popped that in with the beef strips. They're going to cook down nicely. Once the beef strips are done, we'll then start focusing on the mince. We'll use the rest of our red pepper and another one of our chilies. I think this one, a red one. Just to give that a slightly different sort of heat, different spicy level, just to sort of mix up the dish, make it quite vibrant and flavourful. I'll just grab the second camera and drag that around so you can see what's happening over in the saucepan. So over here in the saucepan we have our fresh chilies, half of our red pepper and our beef strips, all just started off in a bit of oil, and now we can see they are starting to cook down quite nicely. The beef is starting to bring on a nice cooked colour, and what we can do is we can transfer that and the juices it's been cooking in to the slow cooker there. So, lid off the slow cooker, which has actually been preheating, so that's going to be nice and warm, and we'll get this and simply pop it all in there. There we go. And let's misted up the camera lens, leave that to clear, and there we go. We can leave those in the slow cooker. Lid back on, leave them to cook down, and we're going to put some more oil back in the pan, and then we can start on the mince. So our next ingredient to go in is going to be our mince. This is just 15% sort of beef mince, fairly simple, quite cheap. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and give this a slightly sweeter, richer flavour. So I'm going to include some different spices and herbs in this dish. And first off, we've got to start browning it off in the pan. So with our beef mince now in the saucepan and starting to sizzle down, and what the heat will be doing is it will be breaking down that fat, making it move through the meat, making it a really soft and tender mixture of sort of mince. And obviously we'll add in some vegetables, so you'll get a really, really nice sort of palette of flavours and textures. And speaking of flavours, what we're going to do now is we're going to add a bit of this. We've got barbecue seasoning and Cajun seasoning. Both are quite rich, sort of sweet and smoky flavours, and what they'll do is they'll give a slightly different taste to the mince than we have in the beef strips. So let's see how this goes. Should always go solid. This one's got barbecue seasoning. And our Cajun seasoning. So in here cooking away we have our beef mince mixed in with some barbecue seasoning and Cajun seasoning. Cajun seasoning's giving it a really nice sort of almost orangey colour to it, or sort of slightly muted orangey colour. It still looks very beefy brown, but trust me, it smells fantastic. And what we're going to add to And what we'll add to that beef mince is the rest of our big red pepper. I'm going to slice this bit up slightly differently. We're going to just cut it into sort of quite thick batons and then slice it once more. Once again, with this dish, I'm looking to try and get a huge blend of not only flavours but also textures, and just sort of giving different sized chunks will just help add to that, make it quite an exciting dish. So. So the next part I want to put in the saucepan once the mince is done is a brown onion and a red onion. Different colours, once again slightly different flavours, and all we're going to do is just coarsely chop these up. Okay, our onions are now sweating down in the saucepan quite nicely. I would usually at this point put in mushrooms, but I sort of forgot to buy some at Tesco's when I went. So no mushrooms, but we can now start on our carrot. And carrots take a little while to do, so there's in a slow cooker at least, and there's a brilliant way of speeding this up to make sure you get a really nice, soft, but equally flavourful carrot. And the trick actually involves the use of chopped in tomatoes and baked beans, and this is very good. So while the onions fry down, we'll quickly chop up our carrot. So we have our nice glossy sweated down onions, and we're going to pop in our carrot. And now the trick is to get carrots nice in a slow cooker is to parboil them or start them off first in something else that's hot and liquidy. And that's where our beans and our chopped in tomatoes come in. They give us a chance to sort of boil off and start to soften the carrots. And equally, the sugar in the carrot helps to really take off the slightly tart taste of tinned chopped tomatoes, especially if you're on a budget. You end up just buying these because cheap. And now that leaves us with the last few ingredients on our table. We've got our spring onions, we have some fresh garlic, red kidney beans, sweet corn, some vegetable seasoning, and our beef stock. And we're just going to sort of lob this all in with our tomatoey beanie carrots, and then stick it all in the slow cooker. So we'll start with the garlic. Brilliant way of doing garlic is get the clove you want, stick it under a knife, give it a whack. And what that does is it quite nicely breaks the skin, makes it very easy to peel garlic. And there you are, one nice easy clove. Take the little stump off of it. And slice it up. And then we can pop all of this into our pan with our carrots, beans, tomatoes mix. So next up, sweet corn. Nothing really needs to be said about sweet corn. Whack it in the slow cooker, away it goes, just adds a bit of brightness and sort of a sweet tang to the dish you're making. And our red kidney beans. Best advice for these is to A, make sure they get plenty of cooking time in the slow cooker, so at least more than an hour. Generally speaking, this will be in a slow cooker for 7 hours. And on top of that, also make sure you rinse them before using them. So we'll just give these a quick rinse. we've rinsed our black kidney beans and we've got our sweet corn ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick these straight in the slow cooker so they can start to mix in with the meat that we have in there. And there we have it, the finished chili con carne. That has been cooking away in the slow cooker for about nearly 8 hours now, and I think it needs just one finishing touch. So, let's find out what it tastes like. So, the immediate spiciness of the dish isn't apparent. It's a very rich and almost sweet flavour coming from the carrots and the barbecue seasoning. But then as the taste progresses across your tongue and it sits for a bit longer, you get this warm, spicy feeling developing, and it sort of burns through your mouth. I don't want to say burns, that sounds a bit aggressive. It works its way through your mouth, giving you this really satisfying heat, making the whole dish feel really like a big warm hug. It's quite nice actually. It's quite cold outside, so I've just come in from the cold to sit down for dinner, and it sort of really hits the nail on the head because it's warm, it's spicy, but it's not overly spicy so you can't enjoy it, and equally the spices that you get come through from the different peppers and the different spices we put in it give it a really nuanced flavour. It's a flavour that's still going around my mouth actually, and I think there's one thing that would really top this off brilliantly. It's like being in a Fast and Furious movie, that. Cheers.